personally, I wish we could do more actually within the Arts Council arena. I think we've got a relationship management framework with hubs, as hubs here know, and what that means basically is that our investment at hubs, in the same way it is for the NPOs as well, is it's based on risk. So quarterly we will monitor the risk on areas such as the delivery of their programme, their management of governance, their financial situation. The fourth one is the risk, the reputational risk to the Arts Council. So we monitor those 4 things, and that's done in the form of visits to the sites, phone calls, email interaction. Payments aren't released until we receive certain documentation. That's done 6-7 times a year. So if financial accounting isn't sent in and it's scrutinised properly, and board minutes, those kind of things are sent in regularly. If we're not satisfied with them, we won't release money, we'll question it and ask for other things. One of the hubs I looked after recently had a what I call a wobble. The leadership changed very quickly. There was a long line of payments stacking up. I won't know who they are, but we had to intervene. We upped the risk to the highest it could be. We had a senior management meeting with their CEO above the hub lead, and they dealt with if certain steps aren't taken, we will remove the funding. So we do have the clout where we need it. It's in the most extreme examples. We have to give benefit of doubt as well. And we simply don't have, and I'm not making an excuse for Arts Council, but we simply don't have resources to go into the depth which I think some of you are expecting us to. And that's purely a resource issue. But that's how we do it. We monitor.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on a couple of points that have been circulating in this conversation here, where you're talking about how do you make those choices between what types of music making to fund, how do you decide between a county youth orchestra and a folk ensemble, how do you decide between peripatetic lessons and a grime group. And I would say, well, first place to start would be a needs analysis, figuring out where the need is, what young people are looking for, but also doing some means testing of which are the young people who have the ability to pay and who are the people who don't have the ability to pay. Because in an ideal world, all of these projects would be funded. And we do want every young child to have access to high quality music making. But the question is, how should funding be spent? Should it be spent on making sure, should it be spent evenly divided amongst every young child? Or should it be allocated to those who have less needs, whose families do not have the ability to pay? Because we know that those families that do have the ability to pay are going to be sending their kids to lessons anyway, and will be able to pay for things like the county youth orchestra or whatever types of other activities that their child wants to participate in. So I think the question isn't how do we decide amongst these competing genres and different types of ensembles, but how do we allocate the funds to the types of music making where young people are most able to pay, and how can we bring in income from other sources, such as through lesson fees, through ensemble fees for the young people who do have the ability to pay.
I suspect for you, I'm aware in Oxfordshire, we have funding that parents pay for lessons. For most of the cost of most of the lessons is covered by the parents, and the kids who have free school meals will get lessons for free. Again, ensemble costs are covered by parents, etc. So it would be wrong to assume that everything that a county music service, if they were our lead, is doing, is funded by Arts Council money or other meaningful money, and therefore the whole thing of choosing between the county youth orchestra and the folk ensemble isn't. The county youth orchestra may be being paid for by the parents of the kids who are going there, and in some cases those kids who can't afford to pay for it are being funded to go to it because they can't afford it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think there's a lot of misinformation about the way hub money is spent. I just back that up. I'll just work on. Currently our Berkshire Youth Symphony Orchestra is led by our hub partners, the Royal Northern College of Music. There is no Arts Council funding spent on the floor. It is those who can afford to pay for the programme. We raise sponsorship money to be able to subsidise one or two youngsters who couldn't afford to be members. similarly, our Berkshire Maestro's instrumental provision, schools fund the poorest 20%. As a charity, Berkshire Maestro's raises its own money to put in funding to support those just above that free school meals now entitlement, and everybody else pays the full whack of the cost. So, you know, I can account for exactly where the hub's funding is spent, and for us, the biggest spend is on first access. The delivery of free first access and the necessary supply of instruments to make that happen. But a lot of people make the assumption that, that it's generally subsidising. Well, for us, that doesn't happen. There's no general subsidy.
I think it's going to, the Arts Council money is going to fulfil the aims of the national plan, where those aren't, being funded by parents, and so obviously that, in some cases where the national plan talks about progression, you get to a stage where the kids have done first access and then they've done some of the whole class stuff after that, and then they've got to small group instrumental tuition, and 95% of cases it depends on that. The Arts Council money is a pot, but not the pot.